Seau was a NFL linebacker. He played for 19 seasons. He played for the Chargers, he played for the Dolphins, he played for the Patriots. He was elected to 12 Pro Bowls. He was nominated for the 1990s All-Defensive Team, the All-Decade Team. This guy was pretty famous. He made 2 Super Bowls. He was even elected to the Hall of Fame. Posthumously, of course, because he shot himself in the chest in 2012. Now, why would a guy who had such a successful career, who had so much going for him, commit suicide? Well, Junior Seau was diagnosed with CTE, also known as chronic traumatic encephalopathy, which is a degenerative brain disease. So today, I will be talking about CTE. Now, CTE is an incurable disease that researchers are beginning to learn a lot about. The 3 main points that I would like to inform you on are CTE is a brain disease that is contracted by head trauma. CTE is a disease that affects many athletes, and CTE has many long-term effects. So my first point is that CTE is contracted via head trauma. Now, what exactly is head trauma? Well, head trauma could just be a simple blow to the head, or it could be something in the military like a blast, a shock wave. Now, it's something where your brain is kind of shaking around inside of your head. That's the key. Your brain has to be kind of shaken up in order to contract this. It's also something that's contracted via repeated blows to the head, also key. Research shows that it's more likely that non-concussive head trauma causes CTE. So the ones that don't give you the concussion, that don't sideline you for weeks out of your season, those are the ones that will lead to CTE. The Boston University Medical School, this is a quote from the Boston University Medical School. It says, CTE is a neurodegenerative disease characterized by abnormal accumulation of tau protein around small blood vessels in the brain. CTE causes brain cell death, cognitive deficits, and dementia. Now, these tau proteins that they talk about being in abnormal accumulation are what they do is they slow neuron recovery. So when you have a high concentration in your brain, those neurons obviously they die. So it's definitely not a good thing to be having that inside of your brain. My second point is that CTE affects many athletes. So, like, who are the people that that are affected by CTE? The number 1 sport that is affected by CTE is NFL. The National Football League has the highest rate of CTE diagnosis in comparison to other sports. So much so that a Boston University doctor, Dr. Ann McKee, did a study of 202 different brains. Now, of these 202 brains, all of them were football players. 111 of them were from former NFL players. Of these 111 former NFL players, 110 of them were found to have CTE, which, if you're doing the math out there, is at higher than 99% diagnosis rate, which is kind of a stunning percentage of diagnosis. Of the 202 total brains, 177 of them were found to have CTE. Now, these brains were from high school players, from college players, and from NFL players, so just kind of keeping that in mind, that's a pretty high diagnosis rate. This study actually led to the NFL pledging to give $100 million on top of a previous $100 million that they were already giving to aid in the neurological research for things like CTE, which is pretty awesome, definitely good for them. And this study was talked about in a Sports Illustrated article written by Chris Chavez in 2017. The second sport that has high diagnosis rate is boxing. So much so that they have a special name for it. It's called punch-drunk syndrome, and this was kind of coined in the 1920s from after a boxer gets punched in the face a bunch of times, he kind of comes off the ring feeling a little loopy. My third point is that CTE has many long-term effects. So no cure has been found for this. As it turns out, there's no cure for, whacking your head against the wall a million times. So the Mayo Clinic talked about many different effects, and some of the big ones are depression or apathy, emotional instability, substance abuse, and suicidal thoughts or behavior. So it's got a lot of long-term effects. There's no cure, so if you get this at a very young age, you're going to be dealing with these things for a long time. So in conclusion, CTE is a disease that is contracted by head trauma. CTE is a disease that affects many athletes, and CTE is a disease that has many long-term effects. What I would like you all to get out of this is that your brain is a very fragile thing, and it's important to take care of it. Repeated blows to the head can lead to a lifetime of hurt, and it's very important that the decisions that you make today could affect the rest of your lifetime.